Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Cece and I do a lot of content when it comes to lifestyle, motherhood, all of that jazz. So today I wanted to talk about having like an honest talk when it comes to postpartum. So I'm almost, as of today, I'm 11 months postpartum, and there were just so many things I just like wasn't aware of. If you want me to do like a part 2, just go ahead and like this video or ask some questions in the comment box, and I'll definitely do a part 2 because there's just such a plethora of content and topics when it comes to postpartum. So I did the most ones that I wanted to talk about that were just caught me by surprise. I was just super naive. So if you see me looking down, I have notes here because I don't want to forget anything. So it's just a lot of information. I'm going to try to keep it like each topic like cohesively in this video. So I'm first going to talk about I first want to talk about just kind of get into it. I want to talk about intimacy and sex postpartum. This was something that I just was not aware of at all, of how my body was going to respond to sex after a baby. And I just wish more people would talk about it. I feel like people don't talk about it when they're in the thick of it, maybe due to like being embarrassed or, you know, your hormones are kind of crazy. You can feel really alone. Like even in my pregnancy, I really did not have much of a sex drive. And I know some women are on the opposite side of that. They're more on a sex drive. One second, my dog needs food and she's gonna keep scratching until I give her food. So one second. Okay, I'm back. So what I was saying was that with sex, it was something that I just was really naive. I thought around the 6 to 8 week mark, like I would be how I felt at 6 to 8 months postpartum. And I had friends who had sex before they were even cleared. So I thought I was like crazy. I was like, is my body okay? And I feel like there are those resources. Like again, I'm not a doctor. This is just what has worked for me in my journey. So if you have any issues, like definitely talk to your doctor about it. But at some point I almost wish, COVID kind of hindered a lot of my journey, but I wish I would have went to like a pelvic floor therapist because I was going through in postpartum. I just remember like struggling and I was really emotional. All I wanted it was to feel normal again, and I had to be really patient. And thankfully, like my husband was really patient with that because it was a journey to get to where we're at today. And if you're like me, I did have a vaginal delivery, and I had a 2nd-degree tear, just to kind of give you the scenario. And so I was really nervous having a tear, and I was nervous for all of that. And I feel like you just have to really communicate with your partner, and it might just take some time and things. Someone told me really good advice. They said what worked for you before baby might not work for you now, and kind of switch things up. And that's kind of how I was. Like certain positions I love just didn't work for me anymore at that moment. And so I kind of had to ease my body into it and really just take deep breaths. But definitely if you feel like something's not right, talk to your doctor because that's what they're there for, especially in postpartum. And it was just hard. I would say the first few months I wasn't even really thinking about sex because you're just so sleep deprived and you're trying to feed a baby, especially if you breastfeed, and breastfeeding can really, hurt your hormones down there as well. I have friends who, once they stopped breastfeeding, like that helped them, but everyone's just so circumstantial, and it's so hard to talk about certain things because what I'm talking about now might not even happen to you, but at least you know you're not alone, and that I have friends now who are more honest with me about their sex after baby and how it was for them, especially people who have C-sections or people that have like a 1st degree through 4th degree tear. Like everyone's just so different, and everyone's body is so different after postpartum. So then the next topic I want to talk about was sleep deprivation. And it got scary, guys. Like I'm gonna be honest, like that first month, I would say I was probably only getting 2 to 3 hours of sleep consistently, and it was hard. Like, and I had a lot of stress too because I had lost my job during COVID, and I only had 7 weeks of maternity leave. So I feel like that 7 weeks kind of flew by, and I was just so nervous to go back to work, and I was like so tired, but I look back, I just like don't even know. I was like back at work with like an 8-week-old, and I worked from home, and like at that time people were just now getting vaccines. I had my son Grady in November 2020, so my parents and my in-laws weren't fully vaccinated until March or April. So like that's when my parents felt more comfortable obviously helping me with my child, and I kind of felt alone with that because I would see other people who like had their parents at the beginning, and like COVID, like they really, I guess, didn't care. But for me, I was so nervous because Grady was so small, and I just like was not even just with COVID, like having a fall baby in general can be kind of tricky because you have the flu, you have RSV, you have so many other diseases and viruses that can come into play because it is flu season. So I was just nervous in general, and I'm a first-time mom, so I just like didn't know what to expect. But yeah, I was just really scared. I got really angry. I had a lot of rage because like no one told me like how much the man is unfazed, especially for breastfeeding. And I could do a whole breastfeeding video. I'm gonna touch on a little bit about breastfeeding in this video, but I am gonna do like my breastfeeding journey once I decide to conclude that journey. I'm gonna do a video on that and like my experience from beginning to end of breastfeeding. So definitely let me know if you want to see that. But it was a lot. Those early months, I just remember my first 4 hours of sleep, I felt like a whole different person. And as I got longer stretches of sleep, I was like, okay, I can do this. Because there was those first few weeks, it was just really scary. And I wasn't prepared of like how much sleep you don't get. And obviously it varies baby to baby, but Grady was like a middle of the road sleeper. He would sleep, but he wasn't a baby that I had to go wake up. He woke me up if he was hungry, and it was rough. I just remember just feeling so depleted. And it does get better, but I highly recommend like a sleeping class. I bought Taking Care of Babies day 2 from the hospital, like day 2 at my house. So I can also do a video on sleep because I did get Grady on a pretty good schedule that was flexible, something that wasn't too strict. I'm not a type A mom. I mean, I like to be well read on topics, but I'm not very like structured. I like kind of going with the flow. I want to be able to leave the house. Like I learned a lot kind of combining all the knowledge I have when it came to sleep into what I did for Grady. The topic I want to talk about is breastfeeding. So something that I was really naive about when it came to breastfeeding was losing weight. And I want to touch on this because I was completely unaware that some people just do not lose weight and you might actually gain weight breastfeeding. Because for me, my appetite, I've always been like a thicker person, but my appetite was never like off the chain at all, like from birth till now or till pre-pregnant. And I ate, but I didn't like binge eat, or I didn't really have a large appetite. Even when I was pregnant, I had a lot of food aversions, and I really didn't gain that much weight. I gained like 25 pounds, which was good on my frame. You know, I didn't want to gain any more than that. But breastfeeding hunger was a whole other hunger I was just not prepared for. I remember sitting here eating a hamburger and fries, and within minutes, my stomach was still hungry and growling. I was just like, I just ate like probably a 2,000 calorie meal, and I'd already eaten that day, and I was still starving. And I have gained weight in my breastfeeding journey, which is fine. It's not what I really wanted, but that's probably what maybe my body had to do to be able to produce milk. And I wish people would talk about it more, because even doctors will say you'll lose weight breastfeeding. Like, it did shrink my stomach down after baby, which was nice, but I slowly started to gain weight through about postpartum because I was just so hungry all the time, and I thought I could eat what I want and do what I want and still lose weight because my body was burning calories. But now I know when I go into my second pregnancy, God willing, that I can't do that, and my body is just not like that, and it's gonna gain weight. Maybe it's a hormonal thing because, you know, your body releases prolactin, and that can store fat. What I wanted to say was that if you're someone that's been breastfeeding, you're like, why am I not like losing weight? Like, it's okay. Maybe check. I know a lot of women check their hormones during postpartum, but for me, like, until I'm done breastfeeding and I'm officially weaned, give myself maybe 3 months after that, and I still feel like I'm not losing weight, I'm doing X, Y, and Z, then I obviously will get blood work done, because I just feel like your hormones are so out of whack. Again, I'm not a doctor, but you might not look the same, and that's okay. Like, I feel like Our bodies went through so much, and we have to give ourselves grace with it. And it's really hard to have that when you're comparing yourself to other people on Instagram and social media. It's okay if you didn't like bounce back. We're not balls, you know? Like, I'm just like, never thought I'd be so passionate about body image when it comes to postpartum, but I just think the pressures that the society puts on women after they have a baby is disgusting. And we have to make, I'm trying to be more positive about it. And if you're someone that's watching this, you're like, why am I not losing weight? It could be normal. Maybe your body just clings onto fat to produce milk, and that could be it. And then you might be someone that loses weight after you're done breastfeeding, when some people who lose all their weight breastfeeding gain their weight back when they stop. Like, everyone's just so different, but I wish someone would have told me that could have been the case for me, and that could have been an option, because I thought in general everyone lost weight. And I'm always having to break that myth when I talk to people about it, because they think, oh, you breastfeed, like, why haven't you dropped this amount of weight? Not saying anyone has told me that, that's just kind of what I think sometimes, that people like, how are you still like this big still when you are now 11 months postpartum? I think I put that pressure on myself, and people are probably not even thinking that, but that's just how I feel. My next topic is being diagnosed with postpartum anxiety. So I am anxious in general, been anxious my whole life, but my postpartum anxiety around my milk supply and sleep and the car seat were the three things that it really originated from. When it came to feeding, I was so nervous that like Grady wasn't getting enough, and he was gaining weight, but there was around like the 2-month mark where he had gained weight, but not as much as the doctor would want. And I was just so nervous. And I just felt like I wasn't doing enough, and I was letting him sleep a lot at night, and I was like, oh my God, I failed him. I should have been like waking him up, and I wasn't doing that, and I just felt really guilty. So my PPA was really centered on my milk supply, and it was centered around the car seat safety. If you don't, you need to follow Safe in the Seat. Safe in the Seat saved my mental health so much. I'm sure there's other good resources out there, but I learned so much from that account, and she is amazing. Her plethora of knowledge when it comes to car seat safety and other things in that genre is incredible. And there's so many things I did not know until I followed that account, and I feel so much more confident in her. So I'll definitely tag anything I say down below in the comment box or the description box for y'all, in case you're wanting these resources that really helped me in my postpartum journey. And then definitely around sleep. So I did use the Owlet sock, and I do have the Nanit camera, and both of those are really like, I actually like the Nanit better. The Owlet I kind of feel indifferent about. It was nice in the newborn stage. I definitely do like a product review of like the top products I use the first year. The Owlet I really do like. It got annoying the more mobile Grady got, and he was kicking off the Owlet and it was doing false alarms. But honestly, it was a survival thing for me when it came to the first 3 months, because babies breathe so crazy at first because they're just so small and still kind of developing their lungs and everything. And no one really told me that. If my pediatrician didn't give me a list of like, these things are normal, don't freak out essentially, I would be calling the pediatrician like every single day. And that was one of the things around sleep. I was just so terrified of SIDS, and I know like it's very rare, but it was just something that I was terrified of like losing my baby, and I had to start going to therapy for it. Like, my emotional capacity completely shifted once I had a baby. There's certain TV shows I can't watch anymore because of it, and it's just, I'm already a really big empath, but then it just really intensified my being empathetic, and it just was a lot for me and my mental health. So I definitely suggest, if you're struggling, definitely look into therapy. There's nothing to be embarrassed about it, and it's okay for struggling as a mom. It's a lot. We go through a lot emotionally, physically, spiritually, all of it. It really is a test to your relationship, to how you feel about yourself. It's like, you can be as prepared as you want and watch everything on YouTube as you want, but nothing is really gonna prepare you. And that's okay. Everything is so circumstantial, and you'll get through it and you'll figure out what works for you and your family. So I definitely like, give yourself some grace, because it can be hard. The last thing I want to talk about is how it really affects your relationship. That could be whoever that person is. It could be your partner, your spouse. It really affects your relationship in different ways, and that also is circumstantial. I definitely do a whole video of how it can affect your relationship when it comes to sleep deprivation, you know, parent roles, who does what, how to balance everything out, especially if you're breastfeeding, which I only can really speak to, is that I breastfed or chest fed majority of my breastfeeding journey. Grady would get bottles here and there, but I wasn't like an exclusive pumper. Because I work from home, I was able to have that option to always breastfeed him. And then I got more comfortable. I would just go off camera and just breastfeed him while I'm in a meeting if I had to. And I was super fortunate with that. Not everyone's in that situation, obviously, but I know a lot of people that are because of COVID. So that was something that I was really thankful for. But it can be hard when it's just you solely having to breastfeed your kid, or even if you're a pumper, like say that you want your partner to wake up with you at night, but then he gives your baby a bottle, you still have to wake up and pump. So it's like no matter what, you're gonna have to wake up, and it's a lot. It's a lot on your mental health, it's a lot on your physical health, and it takes time for your body to heal and to kind of get into a routine. And I would just see all these people on Instagram and social media just soaking up this time, and you want to soak it up. It does go by fast. The days are long, but the years are short, and it can be really hard. So if you're someone that's watching that's struggling, just know that you're not alone, and it's going to get better. And if it doesn't, there are resources out there for you to help with that. So I really hope that everything I talked about today really helped, that you didn't feel alone. And if you want to see a part 2, definitely comment down below, and forget to subscribe to my page. I'm going to be posting weekly content around being a mom, lifestyle, all of that, and trying to give my best takes and tips on what it's like to be a first-time mom. Bye y'all. See y'all later.